Okay, thoughts I've been thinking recently. Today's July 27th, 2024. I haven't put one of these out in a long time. So this is going to be about the same subject that I always talk about, really. But hopefully a more nuanced, better articulated understanding of it. So, this is something I've been thinking, writing, talking about for probably 4 years now, or in that range, arguably. Maybe 5 years, somewhere around there, but there's this. It relates to sex, which is a big subject. And it relates both to sex in terms of fucking, like sexual sex, and it refers to sex in terms of male, what you see here, and female. These are concepts that are, there's a lot of conflicting views and ways of thinking about this, but just imagine from personal experience. This is something I've been thinking about. So, last night, for example, I'm in a car, sitting in the back left seat. There's 4 people in the car, all guys, including me. These are friends. There's a feeling that is associated with that. There's a feeling of being with the bros, for example. That's my experience, at least. When you're with male friends as a guy, there's an energy about what's going on, right? And then I was thinking, if I'm in the car, I've also had this experience. Sometimes I'm the only guy in a room with all girls. And it'll be me in a car, and instead of 3 other guys in the car, there's 3 girls in there, right? Ooh, there's a car going through here. Or a biker guy going through. So what I'm trying to say is, the feeling that I associate with that is different. It actually feels different to interact with, to be in the presence of, to be near, to be looking at, to be talking to women than it does men. It's different. There's a helicopter going overhead. Oh, I miss North Carolina. I'm in the hills of Southern California right now, as you can see behind me. But, okay, so the experience that I feel in the presence of the two sexes is actually different, if I'm being honest with myself. And when we talk about what a woman is, what a man is, part of the answer to that definition when you're defining these concepts includes the subjective experience that you have in relationship to these people in your world. You talk to girls, you talk to boys, you talk to men, women, mothers, fathers, sons, daughters, right? These are fundamentally different experiences. And then so you can go ahead and nitpick at this claim. You can tell me, oh, you feel the same thing towards a guy, that you feel towards a girl, You can tell me that, oh, you just feel people, right? Like you just feel a person. You don't really feel man or woman when you look or think or interact with somebody. But I don't know if you're being honest with yourself if you actually say that. I don't think anybody can honestly say, there's no human being there's nobody of our species that can say that they honestly have the same experience towards males that they have towards females, even in relationship to their own conception of themselves. And so, of course, this gets back to this trans issue, right? Which is this explosive, fiery, divisive issue that it's blowing up this whole world. And then so you have to think. This is something, again, I've been reflecting on this. I have, without giving away too many details, and this is going to sound, I'm not going to say that I frequently spend time in the presence of transgender individuals, but I have a non-zero amount of interactions with them. non-zero. It's more than zero, right? I don't hang out frequently. I don't go have any trans drinking buddies or anything, right? But when I'm in the presence of what we would call a transgender woman, somebody who is male, who identifies as a woman, who is presenting feminine, female, right, wearing women's clothing, when I'm in the presence of that individual, it doesn't feel the same as it would if I was in the presence of a girl or a woman. It just doesn't, I don't get the same feeling. With the feeling I get, I mean, it depends. There's a lot of different kinds of transgenders out there. It's a large spectrum. Some of them pass, right? Quote unquote pass. That's a different experience that you're going to feel than the ones who are clearly of one sex that they don't identify as, right? You know what I mean? So the experience that I get, at least in a handful of situations that I've had over the past year or two of my life here, the feeling I get is more of a feeling that I would associate with an especially effeminate gay man or something like that. Not even necessarily gay, just an especially, you know, there's men come in a whole spectrum of shapes and sizes, right? Humans do in general, but you get big, hairy, tough guys, and you get small, more effeminate men, right? Those exist. And you're going to have different feelings that you associate just standing near them, talking to them, being with them, just based on their energy. You know, people have a variety of energies, obviously. It's not just all dependent on your shape, but you just, in general, if you're standing next to a 300-pound, you know, pro wrestler guy, I just think you're having a different experience inside your own body than you would if you're standing next to like a Twinkie, you know, guy dressed in women's clothing. It just doesn't, you know, it's just a different experience, whatever you want to call it. It's a different thing. And I don't get the same feeling towards a transgender woman that I get towards a woman. I don't get the same feeling. So what is a woman, right? Then we get to the spot where, like, what does that even mean? The thing that drives me crazy about this, and I think the reason that I keep talking about it, the reason I can't stop thinking about it or writing about it or talking about it, you can go to this Discord channel. I've written no less than 450,000 words, almost entirely revolving around this subject, because it drives me so insane. Because here's the problem. It's not that I necessarily have an issue with using she, her to refer to a male who wants to be called she, her. That's not where the issue falls. The issue falls with the reaction to me saying, I don't want to do that. It's not that I don't want to do it. It's that I don't like the energy behind the demand for me to do it. I don't like the reasoning behind it. I don't like the argument behind it. I don't like the reaction to it. It's not just... So I was actually banned officially. I'm not bullshitting here. Banned from Super Smash Bros. Melee tournaments for about 3 years. This was agreed upon. I mean, it's a grassroots community. It's hard to say who makes the rules exactly. Like, every tournament is run by its own guy who, in theory, operates independently. But, I mean, you can tell the story 1,000 ways, from 1,000 angles. From my perspective, I was banned from this community from attending events because of a 5-word tweet that I put out. The 5 words were, trans women are not women. That's what I said. Everything else that I said in relationship to that is based off of that statement. That's all that I'm saying, is that I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced of this argument. I'm not convinced that a male who identifies as a woman is a woman. And then you can get to these insane philosophical places when you get stuck in this conversation, and then there's this anger, there's this emotional terror that comes along with it in these conversations. If you want to make somebody angry, if you want to piss somebody off, you tell them you disagree with this statement, right? That's all you have to do, is you tell them you don't agree with the whole trans thing. They're, again, at the risk of giving away too many details, I don't want to share too much information about people who might not want their information shared, but there's people in my life who will not speak to me, who have cut relationships with me over this stance. And it's like, what the fuck are we actually talking about, right? What are we actually talking about? Because, again, of course, if I'm not oblivious to the suffering of other people, I understand, I think I understand, or at least have an average or better understanding of the physical mechanisms that might lead to something like gender dysphoria. I think I understand that there really is, there are an insane variety of states of being, and it's hard to determine which ones are, you get to these insane places philosophically, but the thing that I'm focused on is why does it make people so angry? Why is it, again, it's not that I won't use the pronouns, it's that why do you care so much that I use these pronouns? What is it that actually motivates what's motivating the care behind this, motivating the feelings behind this, the anger? Look at the protests that go on. The trans flag has become this political symbol. Why does it occupy that space, right? Why is this not just a debate, And then in my opinion, the closer that I look at it, it seems like it's not actually about pronouns at all. It's not about gender. It is about gender. It's more about these debates over the differences between men and women in general. And then that gets into these places that involve ethics, because then it's not just what is a man, what is a woman, it's what should a man be, what should a woman be, what should a man do, what should men do, right? What should men do? What do men do? Right? These are questions that, you can ask these questions at any time in history, and there's always a different answer. Or you can draw trends across time. There's always been patterns of behavior that we, why do we feel feelings of respect towards certain men? Why do we hate other men? And then the same thing for women. What is a good woman? What is a bad woman? Right? And then it gets to these, are you being sexist? Are you saying women have to do this? Right? And you get into this angry place again. Because it sounds like if you try to define what a woman is, then you start trying to put rules on it, and then people get very antsy, and it comes down to these very deep philosophical places that are very hard to, when you're talking to people about this, and I talk to people about this a lot. This is the only thing I ever talk about. It drives everybody in my whole life crazy. Everybody that knows me, everybody. I don't think anybody has escaped this conversation with me, right? So I'm obsessed with it. And I think it's because it's actually, it's when you get into these places, it's hard to pin down the conversation and keep it in one spot. You start talking about these concepts, and you get to these places where it's almost like nobody in the room is smart enough to hang on to all of the concepts that are associated with what we're talking about. Because gender in itself, you're having a conversation about history, you're having a conversation about humanity and biology. What are we? Where did our bodies even come from? Why are we shaped this way? Why do we feel the things we feel? Suddenly you're talking about evolution. You're talking about, what does it even mean to have the urge to reproduce, and how does that affect your decision making in life? Obviously, a lot of the decisions I make revolve around women, and trying to be with women, and trying to find the right woman, and and that's just built into me. I'm just born this way. That's just how I can't help it. This is what I wake up thinking about. It's what I go to sleep thinking about. It's what every guy that's heterosexual, at least. I think we obsess over each other. It's not even just a sexual thing. We constantly are having thoughts about the people that are around us, about our siblings, our friends, our family. You're constantly stuck in a state of contemplating the mental states of the people around you, because that's just a survival instinct. That's just how you have to live. We're social creatures. And that's all shaped by evolution, and evolution it exists because we fuck to reproduce. We're all reproductions of the thing that came before us. So then, again, all that I'm saying here is only a little piece. And then we're talking about ethics and how should women be treated in society, and then you get to freaking, structure of society, government, what rights do we have, what rights should be given to women, to men, what are the differences? And then that's again comes to this trans issue. If I say I'm a woman, do I have women's rights now? Right? I kind of do. So, but what does that mean? What is a woman? And you get to this spot, and I just don't think I don't think the answer is as simple as just a person says what they are and they are that thing. I have a friend personally who I knew prior to transition and now post-transition. I knew him under one name as a man, a male, and then I don't know how old he was, 24, maybe older than that, 25, might be a little older, but in his 20s he decided he's now a woman. And he wants to go by she, her, he has a new name, and I don't think that's a good idea. I don't think what he's doing is a good idea. Not just because of the social transition, that's one thing. You can dress how you want. I think it's gonna, he doesn't look like a woman at all. He will never look like a woman, in truth. Nobody would ever be in his presence and feel the same thing that they would feel towards a biological real woman, right? That's just not gonna happen. No matter how many hormones and surgeries he gets, it's not gonna happen. He's a masculine shaped human being. But, and the other thing is he's taking hormones. He's injecting himself, as far as I know. I mean, I've talked to him about it once, and he has said to me and to others that he is injecting himself with puberty blockers, and he intends to start, at least as of the last time I talked to him, probably about a year ago, he's going to inject estrogen. Like, I think that that's borderline suicidal, dangerous, just fucked up behavior. I think that that's bad for you. Now, people, I don't have any right to stop him. I'm not trying to make that argument even a little bit, but I do have the right to say, I think that's a bad idea. And I think that going along with the pronouns thing, if I say she, her, yes, I'm going to call you by your new name, I'm sort of supporting something that I don't think that he should do. And yeah, like, am I not allowed to have a feeling or an opinion about another person's behavior? If somebody's being an asshole, I feel like I should say, hey, you're being an asshole and it's making people not like you, right? If somebody's like doing something that they shouldn't be doing, and that I know and that I am friends with, in theory, if they're my friend and they're fucking up, I should be like, hey, I wouldn't do that. I just wouldn't do that. And then so, again, yeah, am I completely against saying she, her and using a new name? No, I'm not completely against that. But why is there such a feeling? Why will people cut relationships with me over this? Why will this get me banned from a community for 3 years? I don't think that it's as simple as just, I'm an asshole bigot, right? I don't think that that's really the thing that is happening here. I think what's really happening is that there is this ideology that I don't have any other word for it. I don't know what to call it, but it's a strange thought process that is actually very tempting to believe. It actually feels good to believe it for a variety of reasons. It makes sense that people believe it. I myself believed it for an amount of time, at least to an extent. I actually thought transgender women were women. I actually believed that. I think I can say that I believe that. I don't know. I think saying what you believe in is kind of a tricky thing, right? Not to sound too Petersonian here, but like, what does it mean to believe? Who dares say they believe? All right, but this is kind of impromptu. I was driving and I just pulled over and I thought, I need to get this off my chest again for the millionth time. Talk about this issue again. It's July 27th, 2024. Life is going good in general, I think. Personally. Trump got shot about a week ago. 2 weeks ago. Just to put some context on this video, in case you're watching this a million years from now. Biden dropped out. It's Kamala versus Trump right now. So that's interesting. And then, yeah, just to connect that together. Why was Kamala Harris chosen as a leader of the left-wing party? And it's hard to not... I mean, it was literally called for that a black woman... Like, people were saying... There's clips you can find of people asking Biden or almost telling Biden, are you going to choose a black woman? Can you promise you'll choose a black woman? Like, why would they say that? What is motivating those words to come forth from them? I don't think that that's a liberal idea to say, hey, you got to choose a woman and you got to choose a black person, right? Like, you can't, that's not a liberal person, somebody who follows at least what I believe to be the true definition of liberalism, is that we all have access to this God-given spark. We're all equal on this plane of reality that only God knows, really, or something in that world. Like, we all have access to this internal spirit. You don't have to call it divine. You can come at it from a materialist perspective. We all have the capacity to turn the potential into the actual. We all have the capacity to see and speak. We all have this strange human capacity that no other animals have, right? There's something about us that is special that we all have. So to say to somebody, you need to choose a black woman, it's whatever you want to call the motivation behind that statement, is not a liberal motivation. And then so it doesn't come from that place, right? It comes from something else. And then you get into this, again, you're in these strange philosophical places about racism. What does anti-racism mean? About repairing the previous injustices in the past that we need to, and then what's equity? And again, you get to these places where you're now, to have a conversation about this subject with anybody, it becomes so difficult to just speak to another human being about this, because I don't think anybody's smart enough. You're in this world of ideas that are so gigantic and so hard to grasp. And you can hold one in your head at one point, and then you forget the other ones, and then you're having this conversation, and suddenly there's this like slippage where you're talking past each other at some point, and it's hard to get back on the same page. And then so it just results in violence. And we see this, in my own personal life. I've had tense interactions with people discussing these exact subjects, and it's hard to avoid. It's really hard to avoid tense interactions if you're actually having serious conversations about these subjects. It's hard to keep it upbeat and humorous and lighthearted, because they quickly become serious and emotional, these subjects. It's hard to avoid. And yeah, I know that I'm not the most, I have my own flaws as a person. In a conversation with somebody, I have my own intensity that comes out about these subjects. I feel about them too. I have feelings about them. I'm not just a cold, rational person, Nobody is. But okay, I think that's about it. Today's July 27th, 2024. I gotta cut this one off. Yeah, bye.